Let's get to the United States, where there has been yet another shooting murder that took place in Chop, Chaz, the city within a city, the Summer of Love hub that no one wants to put down in that part of the United States. And believe it or not, despite the fact that now for the second time there has been a shooting that has resulted in the death of a teenage boy, this free-thinking person who is an avowed socialist who is on the local council in Seattle that has the power to shut this thing down, says that while we await details of this tragic killing, it highlights capitalism's brutality and endemic violence. What are you talking about? This is not the crazy on the streets. This is not the cuckoos throwing paint at a statue. This is the loon who's been able to work out how to get themselves elected, to get themselves into a position to start to enact the agenda of the freaks on the street. A 16-year-old boy is dead, and there was no reason for it to be the case. Before that, last week, another person dead in supposedly the Summer of Love. Yet, how deluded are you when you blame capitalism for what clearly you can say that person did to that person? There's nothing systemic behind pulling the trigger. It's the act of a nasty human being, one who you, councillor, are more than happy to look the other way for. Also, you may have noticed in the United States, in St. Louis, in Missouri, there was this bit of footage which a lot of people have got very excited by. It is a man who is apparently a local lawyer. He is there with one hell of a gun, his missus as well, because, guess what? A whole collection of Black Lives Matter protesters decided to break their way into private property. They were trying to march their way towards a rather impressive house of the local mayor. This bloke apparently had picked up the telephone, rung the police, yet they never came, rang the local security firm, yet they never came. And he makes it very clear about exactly why he reached for his gun. Here's a local story from that part of the United States. Of course, the protesters say the gate was already open.
This all started when protesters went marching through this gate here at Portland Place, what's considered private property. That couple tells me they pulled guns out because they felt threatened, but tonight protesters tell me no threats were ever made, and this was an otherwise peaceful protest.
They threatened our dog's life. They threatened to burn down the house. Hundreds, seemingly hundreds of people said, "We're going to come back and get you later."
Now, this again continues here where he explains that you've seen around the country, the city within the city that was able to be set up. The police told they're not allowed to enforce things. They've seen all sorts of things blown up, destroyed and burnt, and again, nobody gets charged for it. So the assumption was that, well, hang on, if these people have decided to push clearly into what you saw the sign said was private property and the police aren't answering, well, then I get the chance to defend myself. Again, here is the bloke who held the gun with that, pink polo shirt.
There were, I don't know how many people, there's a tremendous number of people, all angry, all shouting, all coming towards us.
Now, what is incredible about all of this is that you would think that in the United States, where your right to bear arms is right up there with your right to free speech and your right to believe in whichever God you wish. Well, no, of course. We live in a world now where it doesn't matter what your rights are, it's about what the woke believe your rights should be, or more importantly, shouldn't be. So a local prosecutor in St. Louis is, guess what, thinking about charging this bloke despite the fact that nobody was injured and all he was doing was defending his property against a group of people who, you clearly saw, had no reason to be there, broke down the gate, and apparently were yelling all sorts of things toward him. The statement here is that apparently all parts of the law will be used to go after these people. Well, I suggest this doesn't go too far. Look at the Constitution of the United States. And my favourite bit of footage I have to show to you today is we have seen for weeks and weeks and weeks piss-weak politicians and sooks all over the shop who don't actually engage with these oversized toddlers. Well, bring on this Sheila from New York City. This is the New York City of which I got married in and I can't wait to return.
You're a radical left. You are a domestic terrorist group, and we will see to it that you fall, and you fall so hard, you won't know what hit you.
Check your privilege and get back over there.
Who are you talking to? Huh? You got something to say, little boy? You got something to say, little boy? No, you don't, do you? Why
back
don't you?
over there.
No, I'll stand wherever I
think
want.
you guys
You can stand
represent
wherever
something
you want.
very bad.
Yeah, what? No. Why don't you go to my ass? You're sorry. Tell me a little bit about yourself. Where are you from?
I'm from NYC. Where the are you?
Well, you know what? I can walk wherever I want. I can walk wherever I want.
I'm walking here. God love her.